Welcome back, everybody. This is Grizzly from Lexington, Kentucky. This evening, we have a special guest, Blake from Michigan. Does he have some interesting details of his encounters, not only with Bigfoot, but also Dogman? So sit back and relax, get your beverage, and listen to the story. Blake, start us off. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, well, as a young kid, I was fascinated with stories my dad would tell me of Bigfoot and the Patterson film and of UFOs and different paranormal stuff, and would watch History Channel shows and different old school sci-fi shows and stuff. And it piqued my interest, so I started reading books and just started going out there, and I had my first experience. And from then on, I was dead set on exploring the truth of what's really out there.
Right on. So, your first experience, how was it?
Well, my first experience with Bigfoot, I was 13 and going outside all the time and in the woods at nighttime. This particular time, I would have a routine to get my eyes adjusted. So I would usually go in our side woods, is what I called it. And then my eyes would get adjusted. I would cross the street, get into the main woods, and then work my way to this big area. But this particular night, I skipped that and I crossed the road and I paralleled the road a little bit, and I heard some commotion in the side woods of my yard. And I thought it was a deer, so I just was like, whatever. I jumped deer, dozens of deer and other animals at that point, so I wasn't too worried or concerned. And I moved about 20 more yards, paralleling the road. And then I heard it again and stuff, and I made a low whoop, and nothing happened. All of a sudden, I keep walking about 20 more yards or so, and all of a sudden, this burst of commotion happens, and I hear it, and I stop, and I hear it on the road, and it takes 3 bipedal steps to cross this dirt road. And all of a sudden, there's a split silence, and a huge splash. It lands in this flooded thicket, and then it dashes towards me. It goes and stops 30 feet in this thicket. I could see a little bit of movement of the thicket and stuff, but I couldn't see the creature. And it was maybe a full moon, a half moon. It was bright, but I could not see the actual creature. And I had my walking stick and I raised it up like this, and we stood there for 2 minutes. First 30 seconds, I honestly thought I was probably going to die. I was just waiting for something to grab me. After a minute, other things start popping into my head, like, maybe I'm not going to die, obviously, and stuff. And I get the idea, I got to get back to my house. And at 2 minutes, I get the courage and strength to turn and just continue walking. And my head was on my shoulders, turning and twisting. And, I was scared to go up and down the road. And so I circled the brush, thinking I could hear it if it came closer and stuff. I never did hear it again, and I made it to the house, obviously, and it was traumatizing. I didn't go back in the woods for 2 months after that.
Wow.
And that's what's kicked everything off.
Unbelievable. That's something else. See, I would have dropped dead of a heart attack. I wouldn't be able to run. There's no way.
I didn't run. I couldn't. I was frozen.
Yeah. Run, walk, crawl, watermelon crawl. Nope. Not many. So what happened after that?
Well, the next day I went out and I, investigated what, I crossed the road in 3 steps like a human. And so I tried to do it, and it took me 5 jumping steps to do it. So I realized it came down the embankment on my side of the woods. It crossed in 3 steps, and then he had jumped and over this branch that was about 4 feet up and then 4 feet away from the ditch of the road. So he took 3 steps, he jumped over this branch and landed in that flooded thicket, and then dashed towards me. And obviously, no human could do that. It sounded so human though, bipedal movement when it crossed the road in 3 steps. I just thought it doesn't sound like a deer. And I'd be going and making calls and stuff, months before this, out in the woods at nighttime. I would carry a knife and a stick, a walking stick, nothing really else, and I'd be out there by myself. So, over the years, and there was some activity after this, little bits of wood knocks and some pebbles being thrown at a bus stop with me and my brother waiting for the bus. But over the years, we moved to different areas and had different interaction in different places in Michigan, and realized that these creatures are pretty plentiful here in Michigan. It seems like, if I'm able to go to different states and get encounters and things happening, they're not a needle in the haystack here.
Right.
So just years of going out there by myself and experiencing different stuff at night, and then finally like some of the stuff I start having interaction. I'd be going in this place for a whole week straight, and I would find tree manipulation and stuff along the trail that wasn't there the previous day, and then every day they would add something to it, or I would see a tree structure where there was maple and oak trees, and then there was a pine tree branch with no pine trees 500 yards in any direction. And this sort of thing that is very obvious and stuff. Wood knocks. Particular time I was being followed by a creaking tree sound when there was no wind.
Wow.
One thing I like to do over the years I've developed is, when you're in an area and you think you're having interaction and you're hearing sounds, if you go 100, 200 yards and those sounds continue to follow you, it's most likely not a normal animal. A deer's not going to keep following you. A squirrel's not going to keep following you, chucking acorns at you.
Right.
It eliminates a lot of normal stuff. And then you can say, this is not normal, what you're encountering out there. And so being out there solo and stuff, doing this, being close, and you kind of get a sense, you kind of get acclimated and stuff. And then I started the Lost Cryptids Conservatory, started working with people, and then it exploded with it seems like encounters and different things that we did. We had very close encounters and evidence on the YouTube that you can see. It's amazing. These creatures are just amazing, very intelligent. They're everywhere. We have a lot of different reports here in Michigan. I'm going to shout out to Val Savala. He's a Michigan data miner. He's not a Bigfoot researcher. He's a profiler, a data miner. And Michigan has, and it's growing, it's 1,981 sightings. And the very first one reported, and this is all due to Val's credit, is 1642, I believe, or 1646, when the French sent a telegram, a letter over to France talking about a tribe of Sasquatch on the move in Michigan and stuff. And then, long story short, they were traveling across the state, and the townspeople chased them across Lake St. Clair to Harson's Island and stuff. And there's several stories of old Fort Detroit and Sasquatches and stuff. So very early report here in Michigan, and of course all the way till now. So,
well, like I told our last guest, the government knows all about them. The government has bodies. We know that for a fact. Look at that brush fire last year out west. Did you hear about that? Where the firemen found Sasquatch? I think 3/4 of the body was burned, and they were treating it and government officials showed up, recovered the body, and told them this didn't happen. Don't talk about it. Made some threats. They disappeared. You know, they know. I mean, certain spots in California and out west, they sanction lands, you know, out of nowhere for no reason where Bigfoot lives. Here in Kentucky, they got signs by Daniel Boone's National Forest, and I think down there by Lake Cumberland, if I remember right, don't feed Bigfoot and stay away from them. And these were actual park signs, not a sign that you and I would put up. So they're being acknowledged.
Slowly, I think they are. Yeah, I mean, there's been programs to, manage them for last 100 years at least, I would say. And here in Michigan, we can see that, and we definitely have reports and even sightings reported of people listening to scanners of law enforcement talking about Sasquatch, and responding to calls of Sasquatch reported in people's yards. Very recently, a couple months back, beginning of summer, there was a call, and police responded to a Sasquatch sighting in someone's yard. So it happens all the time and stuff, and sometimes they can't cover it up. I think that personally, that obviously they're doing some sort of managing system. They must be doing a pretty good job if the Sasquatch are able to thrive and survive and be around our civilization as close as they are without too much conflict. Seems like something's going on. They're doing something right.
Well, we look at our technology today, with our smartphones, the cameras we have. I mean, we got the evidence on film. Everybody says it's fake, it's bogus. Somebody asked me, is this fake or real? And my answer to them is, I don't know. I didn't take it. Don't get me wrong. Little Johnny's drunk. He's in a little gorilla suit, monkey suit, whatever, running around the woods, scaring people. I know that happens. I know there's fakes out there. But all the ones we see are not fakes. You're not going to be 30 miles away from somewhere and find footprints and have encounters out of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And they have the DNA evidence. I forget what it's called. I have to Google it. But they have some type of way to abstract DNA from creeks, streams, ponds, lakes, rivers, that tells you each an animal that walks through there, urinates through there, scat, drinks, anything. And every time they do, it comes back 98% human and 2% unknown. Now, if we take those calculations and look at chimpanzees are 98% human and 2% chimpanzees. And it always comes back 98% human and 2% unknown primate.
Yeah, I mean, it's close enough, and yet there's still that gap that makes them completely different. So
yeah, but
I think the DNA test, it comes back as human. And most tests, unless you're spending more money to test even more details on things, it's going to come back probably as human. I think that's why the majority of the tests, even as really good examples that verify, reliable researchers and people have sent in that said, that is Sasquatch, comes back as human. Maybe we're not testing the right way and stuff, and it's all about funding. I'm not rich, I'm not a millionaire, I'm not getting paid to go on TV, and no one's getting the funding to really do the credible stuff. And that's what needs to be done and stuff is research needs to be taken seriously and stuff because people are witnessing stuff all the time, every day. I'm just one person. I've encountered a number of things. I know a number of people have encountered several different things. Other cryptids. UFOs, ghosts. A lot of Americans will tell you they'll believe in ghosts rather than Bigfoot. But it's tomatoes and tomatoes. Here in Michigan, over the years, we'll get into this. The Dogman encounter. I used to think Dogman and stuff was just a Bigfoot, misidentified Bigfoot and stuff. And over the years and stuff, as a kid, I experienced ghost stuff and I've seen UFOs and stuff, but I didn't think Dogman was real. And even though I've seen other cryptids, the Stick Man, we can talk about that maybe. I always thought Bigfoot is everyone's seen a Bigfoot. It's baboon face. It's just elongated. But 2 years ago, in October, it became very real. And me and my family were driving down this road at dusk, and basically, I seen this canine head start crossing the road, and I registered. I was like, oh, cool, coyotes. It's crossing the road or whatever. You don't really see that often. They come out at nighttime. When it got in the middle of the road, I was like, holy crap, it's a massive wolf in lower Michigan, pretty far south in Michigan, where wolves are not known to even be, or officially won't be accepted at all. It was huge and stuff, and it crossed the road in all fours, a normal massive wolf. When it got into the field and stuff, it rose up and began to run like a human, like this. Very fluently. It never stopped, nothing. It just went from all fours to running like this. And we were driving 55 miles an hour, and we pass it, of course, and it's running like a human, and we just continue on. And I'm talking to my girlfriend, did you see that? Oh my gosh, what did you see? And so, yeah, I guess if that's what people are seeing and saying that's what Dogman is, then yeah, I guess that's what I seen, a Dogman. But if it never got up like a human, you would have never thought it was anything other than a natural wolf. It wasn't Arnold Schwarzenegger muscle bound. It didn't look like it was steroid, like a Greek god. It was a natural animal on all fours that simply rose up and continued to bipedally run very fluently like a human. I mean, there was no hindrance. It was very fast, and
that's crazy.
And, yeah. So I guess people are experiencing Dogman. I mean, that's what I seen, but it doesn't look like a werewolf, in my opinion. Just a wolf that can get up and move on its hind legs very fluently.
Somebody asked me about Dogman once and asked me, what my opinion was, and I don't know too much about Dogman, besides what people tell me when I interview and what I see on TV. And my thing is, I think that Dogman is demons from hell that have been turned loose. Is the best way I can put it. That come through a portal. In the Bible it says God casted out a third of the angels. He didn't say he cast out a third of the angels to hell. Where'd the third of the angels go to? So, I don't know. What's your take on it?
Well, I hope not, right? The most frightening aspect is, it all could be a demonic aspect, Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts, Dogman, whatever other cryptids. It doesn't matter, right? Because they're all under the same umbrella, I can't, I don't know yet, I do believe spiritually there are demonic entities out there. They can take different shapes and forms. That's why I don't ghost hunt and stuff, because you don't know what you're interacting with. You don't know. Most of the time, it's bad. The same thing with Sasquatch and stuff. We don't technically know, and it's very deceptive and stuff. There's a very calming, luring, deceptive, friendly forest giant. When you're out in the field, that you can constantly always chase them and chase them and chase them. And they just lead you out further and further and further until they encircle you. And a lot of people say they look monstrous, demonic, eat people, stuff like that. I mean, I don't know. I personally have not been shown enough in my experience that they are demonic in nature. Aliens and sort of things, I would lean towards demonic entities and stuff because, I mean, you hear people screaming the name of Jesus in these instances, and if an alien who doesn't believe in God and stuff and it's not supernatural, how can that name protect people and stuff? So when I'm out in Sasquatch and stuff, yeah, I've prayed and stuff, and nothing's ever happened and stuff, but I've never been shown any inclination that they are demonic. But again, it could be all under the veil. You never know, and it'd be very sad because a lot of people would just be deceived and stuff, lured, and it's a very dark rabbit hole when you go down that sort of thing. There's a lot of aspects and a lot of things you could get into, and dominoes and stuff, and we just don't know as of yet.
Well, I was fortunate enough. I'm prior law enforcement, and I was fortunate enough to get an autopsy report from a famous person that's really big into Dogman, and had several encounters. And when I looked at the autopsy report, it had the stamps, the signatures. It was actually legit. How they got it, I couldn't tell you. And when I read the autopsy report, it did not match what they put down as the cause of death. And they put down the cause of death was a pack of dogs. Well, with the laceration marks and the arms ripped out of the sockets and so forth, a pack of dogs are not going to do that. And I know a pack of dogs will munch, bite, maybe tear some flesh and take off. So it was very interesting. So that shows me that the government does know, and they're covering that up as well. What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, if there's these creatures out there that are roaming the land, and some are, attacking people, obviously there's probably going to be cover-ups and research studies and all sorts of things. If I come to the conclusion that these things are demonic or monstrous and stuff, I'll definitely be more inclined to defend myself more openly than I guess I am. I'm trying to get interaction with Sasquatch and stuff, and obviously get things on film. But if they're more monsters than anything else, then you might as well just go out and hunt, because there's no reason for them to. There's no reason for them to be managed. Sorry about that. Or for them to be allowed to live next to us. I mean, if they're demonic and they're monsters and just bloodthirsty and just going to kill us all the time, there's no reason for them to be allowed to live next to us. That would be my opinion on that.
Well,
if they're not monsters and they're intelligent and they're people and they're something that's not demonic, then they should have a chance, like any other life form, animals that we give.
They do have laws on the book for Bigfoot. If you kill Bigfoot, it's capital murder.
Right. So, and if it is proven and it is human and stuff, that first body might be considered murder.
So, and I've been told by many people that investigate and encounters the Dogman they cloak themselves. Have you heard that?
Yeah, yeah. Another thing about my encounter is I had a premonition, basically, a dream that came true. And the one thing that it kind of freaked me out is because, I had a dream, there's certain people, and when reality hit, the people were sitting where they were sitting in my dream, around the fire, scenery of the tree, same conversation. And the key word skinwalker came up,
Right.
and, it's dark witchcraft type of Native American stuff. Yeah, I don't know if that's related or anything. It was just very weird. But there's some people who believe that some of these, things are skinwalkers and are not flesh and blood animals types, but it's Native American magic and sort of things. And I've been privy to information with law enforcement stuff and about occult killings, and there are legit things like that. And maybe these things fall into those sort of things, and it's kept under wraps for our safety, obviously.
Right. I believe it. I don't
There's a
think
lot of stuff, freaky stuff out there. A lot of freaky people who believe in all sorts of things. So, who knows?
I don't think the American people, the average citizen, can actually handle the truth. You see
No.
Dogman on the 6 o'clock news killing people. You would have every red, blue, white American out there with guns hunting. I heard that you could shoot at Dogman, and Dogman, they'd just turn around and look at you. So, are they not flesh and blood? Are they flesh and blood? Some people say yes, some people say no. So who's right?
Yeah, I really don't know. It's the hardest part is this. Everyone experiences stuff. There's a lot of evidence of certain things, but there's no answers to any of the major questions that we've had for decades. On any cryptid you look at, really, for whatever reason. But yeah, this aspect that even shooting Bigfoot, sometimes that there's no blood, they don't react. It's like that nothing ever happens. Sometimes they just scream. Dogman, in particular, a lot of stories seems like nothing happens. Physically, any creature on this earth can be killed. If it bleeds, it can die. And
Right?
guns have killed pretty much the biggest land animals in the world. So should no problem take down a Sasquatch or a Dogman. If they're, again, spiritual entities, that whole veil thing, then there's different rules that apply, obviously, right? Spiritual warfare, spiritual protection, and spiritual weapons that take down spiritual entities. You're right. So maybe there's a bunch of rules set and rules and stuff that has to be followed and stuff and the government knows, obviously. They study everything, whether or not it's legit or not. There's declassified stuff that they look into all sorts of aspects of psychic warfare, a bunch of different stuff that some people would consider spiritual stuff, spiritual aspects, psychic warfare, spiritual warfare type of things. Quantum science, quantum theories and stuff that they're proving and stuff. I mean, there's all sorts of new aspects and stuff that we're discovering that the public's allowed to know, I should say, because obviously the stuff that's kept under wraps is and more advanced than the civilian market, more advanced than other governments and stuff. So I'm sure that they've discovered certain things in different life forms and things that live underground. And I don't think it's all spiritual and stuff, but there could be some things that are spiritual connected and spiritual entities and forces and physical creatures on this earth.
Right.
It's just hard that we just don't know, because some creatures might have natural supernatural abilities that are just quantum abilities that are natural. Or, there's spiritual aspects, and these things are, it's hard, but it's the quantum science and quantum theories and stuff. The way that some of these things are playing out does shed light on how things can be possible without jumping into like some supernatural spiritual aspect.
Right. I know a lot of people say about the spiritual side. I know a lot of people say don't bring in religion into the cryptids. So I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, my stance is basically this. If it's natural animals and stuff, God, it's like any other natural animal, right? If it's spiritual and stuff, and if it's you know demonic, then obviously it's not of God, and in that case, I would consider anything that's not of God as spiritual and demonic, automatically demonic in my book, because you don't know what you're messing with, and if it's trying to trick you and lure you into a self calming, everything's okay, look over here, don't mind this, and I mean, honestly, it smells fishy, if
Right.
you're religious and stuff. If God's gonna do something, it's gonna be pretty direct and to you and stuff. He's not gonna send a Bigfoot and make you say, have to keep walking to follow him, because the Bigfoot's mind speaking to you and stuff like that. It's probably not, a good thing to probably do, right? You have these things speaking in your head and stuff. It's probably not a good idea to like fully trust them and stuff. You don't know. In the Bible, it says you should test the spirits, because if they are of God, they will reveal that, and if they are not, obviously you should be able to tell. Not to go all religious on that, but hey, there's a whole slew of things we just don't know. You don't have to be religious to experience these sort of things, but sometimes religious sort of things that you can read in any doctrine. There's stories of cryptids in the Bible. There's stories of spirits. You look at any other religious book. There's talks about spirits. Sometimes they talk about other worldly creatures. Sometimes there's monsters and stuff. I mean, all these books are talking about different cryptids and stuff. I mean, something must be going on.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right.
So, and that's what the Lost Cryptids is about. That's why I came up with the name. Is this idea that mankind keeps having amnesia. Lost civilizations. We knew about these lost cryptids. These cryptids had names and stuff. These monsters have names. We had cultures and stuff that had stories and warfare and people that experienced and killed these things, and we lost that. Now there are these lost cryptids who we come up with names like Bigfoot and Loch Ness monster, and we have no data, no information, no stories that we can remember. And stories that we hear from the natives, we dismiss as fairy tale. Oh, the little people, of Africa, the little people of Asia, the little people of North America, the little people of South America, the little people of the North Pole. I mean, anywhere you go, these people speak different cultures, completely different languages, never even seen each other, different time periods that these stories take place, and yet they talk about the same sort of things. So
Yeah,
we've had amnesia. They're lost cryptids, and now we have to rediscover it with this modern technology.
It's written already from the past. There's a difference between legends and folklore.
Certainly.
So, legends come from part of the truth. I mean, I just don't know. It's just hard to explain, and anybody can debate, about the dog man and Sasquatch, Bigfoot, muddy monster, however you want to call them. So, what was your experience with the dog man? Was that the only one?
That was the only one as of yet. Yeah, it was pretty blatant. It was it was sunset and stuff, and my girlfriend said the creature was standing up. Then it went on
Wow.
all fours, and that's when I seen it. So I was looking at the car, and I've been in this spot. We drove down dozens of times a year. It seemed the car coming down the road easily. It could have waited, could have hid in the bush, could have not crossed the road. But when it crossed the road, if you ever seen like a wolf run or a bear run when they really first get going, their head starts bobbing. It was going like that, and it did turn and look at us. And my girlfriend said it was like it looked right through her, so she said. It was very freaky. She didn't like that. And it turned and looked at us and, kept going. And it was on purpose. It was very weird. This is this is not in the middle of the woods. This is farmland America. This could be in any farm belt in any state. This is just outside of cities. This is not rural America. This is just outside cities in the country. And yet this creature is basically and very close to houses. You're talking about less than a quarter mile from a house and stuff, and basically almost open daylight, sunset. If that person was looking out the house, he would have seen that. It just blew my mind. So I am hoping to experience more Dogman stuff. We experience Sasquatch more often than not. I feel like the population is just very heavy in Michigan. If you go to the YouTube channel, the Lost Cryptids Conservatory, we have different expedition videos. You can look at the one from Allegan, part 1 and part 2. We go after them and chase after this subject and stuff, and you can hear the subject and stuff on audio. And part 2, we actually have more interaction. Stuff gets thrown, and we get hissed at, we get grunted. A huge rock like this gets chucked up and down onto a creek. All this wasn't aggressive or anything, This was just a display to test to see what we were going to do, to see our reaction. I was speaking Native American. That's another aspect I do, is I speak Native American to these creatures to see if they understand and try to get a response. It seemed to work in that area, and they were around us. And that rock, man, that rock was huge, and it goes poosh. And the researcher with me, he's pretty taken back by it, because that rock would have, if he would have just thrown it at both of us, it would have took both of us out, and we'd have been done. And we're in the middle of this creek bed in the swamp. They're around us. It's pretty intense, but all the encounters and stuff, I've never really had super aggressive aggressive encounters. Besides, I got yelled at one time, but generally they kind of test you to see what you're going to do, see how you're going to react. I think if you go out there with a calm mindset and good vibe, and you're not stupid, you're not out there on alcohol and drugs, and you're not going to point your gun at everything that moves, you're not going to shoot at things, they're not going to interact with that kind of people. Why would they get close to a trigger happy fool? They're more curious about people who are more calm, who are going to sit back and analyze the situation, not just pull out a gun and start shooting because they're scared. They don't see anything, right? So that, trying to get interaction with honey and not vinegar, has been working a lot better. And we've had close interactions. You can watch a full encounter. It's called Jason Kenzie and Blake Duescher's Bigfoot encounter. And this was up in the UP. This was last July, 2021. Basically, went out and changed the recorder, came back just looking at some manipulation, and started walking. And all of a sudden, we heard this burst of commotion, or this brushing of the ground, it sounded like. It drew our attention backwards. I got my rifle off my shoulder, pointed it at the ground, towards the direction, but at the ground, because I don't see whatever's going on. I'm thinking bear, thinking wolf, cougar, because we seen tracks. we heard a commotion, several different individuals, and instinctively, I've been doing this since I was 13. I'm almost 32 now. I instantly thought it's Sasquatch stuff, so I put my gun away, and very shortly, one Sasquatch tree peeked out, and you could see the silhouette, the eye shine, and the camera starts rolling. And you guys can watch that encounter. You guys don't see the Sasquatch because it's too far away. You can see our reaction to everything. You can see eye shine in there too, and at different moments, but not when we see them tree peeking. Then a second one reveals itself right there. Me and Jason both see them. We're pointing at them and stuff, all sort of things. And they're not running away. They're just right there. And I hear a third one circling us, trying to flank us, circling us. And we walk up to the tree to where these ones are at. Now the first one was crouched down, I think. He was about maybe 4 feet off the ground. And the other one was standing about 8 foot off the ground. When he revealed himself behind the tree, they're behind a tree and they're like this. And, at first I'm trying to be skeptical and I'm okay, this could be raccoons or something, just behind a tree. It could be this, could be that. When it turned its head and it looked at the other one, all of a sudden I seen this the massive cone head, the massive forehead just was freaky. And I knew that is not anything but what I know instinctively in my gut. This is a Sasquatch. This is what we're encountering. We've been up here all week. We've had different things going on. This was the climax. And we walk up to them. We kind of sing goofily. I'm trying to do everything and to present that, we're friendly, calm. This happened. It goes on for like 13 minutes. You guys can watch the full encounter. Jason actually is filming himself, and he sees one spider crawl across the ground. It's standing up, and he notices it, but then he doesn't see it. His brain's not registering it fully. So he turns back to me. We're talking, and all of a sudden he turns back, and you can see his body language. He can't fake this. He completely just does a second triple look, and he says he sees a spider crawling across the ground. He freaks out, stuff. You can see eye shine close by us and stuff. And basically, I invite them in Native American to come back to camp with us, where more of us are, and we have more equipment, more gear, more people. We're hoping to get more interaction and stuff. And nothing else crazy happened. But they did show themselves. They did take the risk of, this person has a gun. Let's announce ourselves, see what they do. Wow, he put the gun away and stuff. Now let's show ourselves and stuff. And our response to what they did dictated their next response. If I already had the gun out and pointed at them, they just scattered. They didn't come in and attack. They didn't do nothing. They were waiting to see and taking the risk, and probably understanding that maybe I wasn't going to shoot or anything. And I'm not that kind of guy, If I don't see, there's nothing to shoot at, I'm not going to start shooting at anything I don't see, even if I hear a Sasquatch or whatever. It's just not what you do. So very quickly, this interaction ensued because of the calmness of putting the gun away. They understood everything that happened, every reaction to our reaction to their reaction. They understood. And so it shows intelligence. It didn't show aggressiveness. I didn't feel anything demonic, nothing like that. But I don't know their intentions. They didn't say nothing to us. They didn't gesture. Nothing. They just allowed us to see them by this tree as good as you can at nighttime, besides getting a flashlight right on them. I mean, we had headlamps, but they were crappy because my really expensive one died shortly before this. But It was just surreal. They had actually allowed us. They announced themselves and they had allowed us to see them. So
That's awesome.
that's what we're trying to do is get more interaction like that, but caught on film. And yeah, you guys can watch that on the channel. So we're trying to get more stuff like that. And we got older stuff that is pretty good, but that is, and you can see the eye shining. It's massive. It's right there. And I turn, I'm looking. I don't see it. We have headlamps on. I don't know. It's right there though.
Well, they say that Bigfoot and Dogman can actually read your mind and tell if you're a good person or bad person. I don't know if that's true or not. What do you think?
Well, animals can do that, right? A dog can kind of sense sort of that kind of thing too. But
Oh, you're right.
I think it's just they watch people. They get a sense of who you are by watching your body language, how you talk, your tone, how you interact with the people you're out there, how you interact with animals, maybe with the plants and stuff, Maybe there's certain aspects like Jason, Jason was cracking jokes the entire time, laughing, having a good time, being goofy, running out there. Sometimes he would trip and fall and just, be goofy. That's just kind of the guy he is, He was just doing that because that's how he is. I could see how, seeing that and stuff, that's the kind of individual that maybe they'd be more open to want to interact with instead of some a-hole that's, being mean and, waving a gun around and obnoxious and partying and all sorts of stuff. We don't know what they understand and what they comprehend and stuff, but I'm sure individuals who they feel are, could be a danger to them or a wild card and a loose cannon, they're not going to want to get close to and interact with if they're curious.
You got a good point on that. Can't argue with that. So
that's what I personally think is this: they observe us out there, and it depends on the individual. If they're curious enough and they're open enough, they've had experiences with humans that are not super traumatic and stuff, being shot at. Who knows? You could have ones that straight up hate people for various reasons. Could have some that are want to have interaction with people, but they don't see the people who would be fitting for that.
right. Blake, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, this next year we got the Michigan Bigfoot and Dogman Conference that the Lost Cryptids is hosting here in Michigan. We have a Facebook page that we just started out for that. We're going to be promoting that, doing that. Along with the research expedition after that, I'll be a part of the 168 Bigfoot documentary in Florida, #2. If you guys don't know what that is, check that out. Bigfoot Odyssey, Bigfoot. And we'll be doing a lot of stuff. So check out the YouTube channel, Lost Cryptids Conservatory, the Facebook page, and the Facebook group.
That's awesome. It's been very nice having you on the show. That's right. Give him a good round of applause there. Blake, it's been nice having you. Good information. Like always, you're always welcome to come back anytime. I
appreciate it.
Have you come back on a regular basis, like probably maybe every week, every 2 weeks or something. Whatever works best. We can plan that off camera.
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
From Lexington, Kentucky, this is Grizzly. Signing off for tonight. I'll be coming live in the next 10 minutes with another podcast. Stand by, stand tuned. I'll see you shortly. Across America, good night, guys and gentlemen and ladies.